Playwright Oscar Wilde made the stage come alive a century ago, and now a new movie is bringing his flamboyant life to the silver screen. Cynthia Tornquist has that.
Action.
It's a play within a film, in this case a film about one of the most important figures in literary history, Oscar Wilde. On the day we caught up with the production in London, the cast and crew were busy shooting a scene involving a staging of Wilde's play, The Importance of Being Earnest.
Gwendolyn at last.
Actor Stephen Fry plays the title character in this biopic called Wilde. As Wilde, Fry receives a standing ovation, but when the film cameras weren't rolling, he gave the writer his own verbal ovation.
The more every day that one thinks about him and plays him, the more respect one has for his courage and his greatness as a man.
A great man whose story has been told on film at least twice before.
When people have tried to do it before, the last films about Oscar were made in the late 50s, early 60s, and you just weren't allowed to say what you're allowed to say now, or to show what you're allowed to show now.
What screenwriter Julian Mitchell is referring to is Wilde's homosexuality and flamboyant lifestyle, which ultimately led to his trial and imprisonment.
I remember as a 10-year-old watching the Peter Finch film, The Trials of Oscar Wilde, and not quite understanding why he was on trial. I sort of thought maybe it was because they didn't like his books.
His trial was extremely important because it actually exposed things which people knew about but didn't discuss.
Throughout his life, Wilde was torn between his life as a husband and father and the promiscuous life he led with his lover, Lord Alfred Douglas.
It's just very difficult for us at the end of the 20th century to imagine what it was like being gay 100 years ago, and to see the difficulties with which he came to terms with himself, in fact. And like people maybe in New York in the 60s, when they suddenly came out, he went a bit wild. And in fact, he went seriously wild in some ways. He was wild, after all.
Wild, indeed, but the filmmakers see the writer as more than merely a gay icon.
I think his life and his work are, in a sense, the acme of all that real moral values should stand for.
Thank you.
Cynthia Tornquist, CNN Entertainment News, New York.
Do one more.
And we'll look for you in the next half hour. Thanks for joining us. Lynn Russell, CNN Headline News.